Yeah, can you hear me now?
Doctor, yes, we can hear you. We're going live now.
Run, 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 run. Run, 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 run. Run for grace to every mile. Scream for life with every smile. Together we stand, strong and true. Run for grace, we'll see it through. Run, 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 run. Run for grace to every mile. In the morning light, we lace up our shoes, running with hope in a world we choose. For every heartbeat, for every life, we run for grace and scream for life. Run, 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 run. Run for grace to every mile. Scream for life with every smile. Together we stand, strong and true. Run for grace, we'll see it through. With every step, we break the chains, lighting the path through joy and pain. For
Hello.
those we love, for those we have lost, we run for grace and scream for life. Run, 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 run. Run for grace to every mile. Scream for life with every smile. Together we stand. Run, 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 run. Run for grace to every mile. Run, 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 run. Run for grace to every mile. Run, 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 run. Run for grace to every mile.
Wow. After that awesome presentation for the Global Breast Cancer Foundation run to be held on 12th of October in Gachibowli Stadium. And the song is awesome. So now I introduce Dr. Prakash Chitalkar for yet another awesome awareness session on cancer through Grace Cancer Foundation. Dr. Prakash Chitalkar is a vice president and convener at Teenage and Young Adult Cancer Foundation, professor and head of the Department of Medical Oncology in SAIMS Indore. I welcome you, sir, to our Grace Cancer Foundation and to this awesome awareness session talk. And the next stage is all yours for you to take over. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Venkat, for the kind introduction. Well, I introduced myself as a soldier and a scholar, which means I've been a soldier as in the military uniform for more than a quarter century. Also treated cancer patients among India's defense forces, and then for the last decade and a half, I am actually mentoring young doctors to become cancer specialists, medical oncologists, radiation oncologists, and surgical oncologists. So we have a composite center in Sri Aurobindo Institute of Medical Sciences, Indore, where I work. And besides that, of course, we have this foundation called Teenage and Young Adult Cancer Foundation. This is India's only charity focused on young people's cancer. And young people is defined as 15 to 30 years of age. Having said that, we also have this age group has a very unique profile. Young people, when they get cancer, they have unique needs and they need to be satisfied. So now in the next 35, about 45 minutes, I'll explain to you the lifestyle choices that we need to make in order to, one, prevent cancer possibly, and also to limit the effect of cancer, also possibly the patients who get cured of cancer. And as you know, India now is on a threshold of a revolution where large number of young people, children, young adults, and even elders are getting treated and cured of cancer. When they get cured of cancer, they are called survivors or victors, or they are the victors. And when they are victors, again, you need some kind of lifestyle choices. So that is the. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Oh, wonderful. So today, what about today's topic is lifestyle prescription for cancer. So I will request you to please share the slides. Yes. Yeah. So can you make it in the view mode, please? Yeah. So today we'll be talking about the lifestyle prescription for cancer. The idea is we are at a threshold of a non-communicable disease revolution. Since the year 2011, when the World Health Assembly they assembled in New York and they actually classified uh, diseases as non-communicable diseases, which was consisting of diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, stroke, and cancer. And India became a participant signatory to that. And thereafter, we've been focusing our national health programs towards non-communicable diseases. Now, most of the diseases in India which occur, now we are on the threshold of becoming a developing country. No wonder that most of the diseases that we get in our country are non-communicable. We have more or less conquered the communicable diseases, barring the issue of pandemics, etc. Most of the time, what we suffer from are non-communicable diseases. Next slide, please. And the next slide, yeah. Next one, yeah. So here you can see the causes of cancer. Most of the cancers are about smoking, about diet, about various environmental factors. So when we talk about lifestyle, let's talk about girls' lifestyle. You know that about 30% of boys and girls in the major schools in most of the major metros are actually over their prescribed body weight. Obesity is common in young children now. Body mass index is high. Activities levels are low. And because in today's scenario, we are not able to give our girl children the freedom of going out and being doing activities in the day-to-day activities or even social activities unsupervised. So they tend to have lesser activities, and the result is obesity and overall calorie excess. Next slide. Yeah, boys also ditto the same thing, except for, I mean, otherwise it's the same thing. So it's pretty common to have young children and young adults and adolescents with a higher body mass index, and higher body mass index pretty much predicts for a higher incidence of cancer. Next slide. Screen use is very, very common now. Visual fatigue, gaming excesses, loss of concentration, lack of interest in science, technology, engineering, and math subjects, and lack of interest in languages also. So we got a double whammy of the screen access not being able to translate into necessarily communication. It's mostly lack of interest in languages because of the short forms, etc. used, and overall it results in a very different kind of social persona. And the craze for likes in the Instagram and Facebook, of course, increasing screen times, shortened attention spans, and ignoring real companionship. So these are all added factors, and we'll come to that how cancer patients then later on suffer when they get cancer. The young cancer patients particularly suffer from lack of companionship, lack of real friends. Next slide. The youth bulge of India, that cannot be dismissed. In the 15 to 30 years of age, the ICMR, National Center for Disease Information, Bangalore, has stated that 1,79,000 new young patients of cancer will occurred in 2022 alone. It means every single day of a year, approximately 480 new young Indians, adolescent and children are adolescent and young adults are getting cancer. Are we able to reach every young person with cancer or not? Our foundation focuses on reaching every young person with cancer, and we are active in the state of Madhya Pradesh and in the city of Chandigarh and also in the city of Dehradun. So far, we have spread our wings only to small areas, and we are now moving towards the next. So, the next slide, please. So recommendation for individuals were maintain a healthy weight throughout life, adopt a physical active lifestyle, consume a healthy diet with an emphasis on plant sources, and if you drink alcohol beverages, limit the consumption. So this is very important for young people because very easily they go astray because they have a risk taking behavior. A lot of young people take a lot of risks in life, and the communities will work together to make it easier for people to eat better and be more active. These are the recommendations from the United States Cancer American Cancer Society. Maintain a healthy weight throughout life. Be as lean as possible. Avoid excess weight gain at all ages and engage in regular physical activity. Limit high calorie foods and beverages. Next slide. Well, BMI and specific cancers. In men there is colon. BMI is defined as body mass index. Simply your body weight divided by the square root of your height gives rise to body mass index, and it's desirable that you keep your body mass index below 25 or below 27 at all costs. And in men, there are some GI cancers and kidney cancers would occur when you have higher body mass index, and in women, breast and colon, rectum, and endometrium, kidney, esophagus, they again become more common as they gain in weight. Next slide. Again, other cancers are gallbladder, liver in men and gallbladder, liver in women. Again, they are specific to BMI increasing. Next slide. Yeah, so childhood obesity is actually a big problem, and as we said in our schools, and I'm sure we have to address this. There's no other way except to limit the food choices to basically healthy foods which do not contain processed foods. Next slide. What about weight loss? Yeah, weight loss is also a reason, but weight loss usually doesn't result in increased incidence of cancer. On the other hand, if you can limit your weight, it's actually better. Adopt a physically active style. 150 minutes of active exercise every week. It means 30 minutes into 5 days a week. If you can do that and raise your heart rate to about 120 to 140 in those 30 minutes for 5 days a week, you can assure yourself that you lose weight, your body mass index will be okay, and your risk for cancer will go down. Next slide. Adopt a physically active lifestyle. It's very, very important. I know many of my cancer colleagues say that, oh, when we were young, we used to jump into the well and have a bath. Today's children, we don't get those opportunities. This actually is, it's a reflection on our society, and we need to change that, become a more active physical. We have to improve physicality in our society. Next slide. Tips to make it happen. Make it safe, make it goal focused, make it easy, make it fun, and make it happen every single day. And I'm sure the face of our society will change in about 15 to 20 years. Next slide. Consume a healthy diet. Definitely veggies and unprocessed food are really important. Next slide. Yeah, so the fruits and large number of more than yeah, please go to the next one. 75% of the world's population actually do not have access to enough foods and vegetables. That's the problem. Fruits and vegetables. Most individuals need to double their fruit and vegetable intake. Next slide. Eat more of variety of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and legumes. Next slide. Alcohol and cancer risk. Heavy drinking increases the incidence of aerodigestive cancers like mouth and larynx, esophagus. And moderate drinking increases the risk of breast cancer in women. Next slide. I thought of a glass of wine is good enough, probably good for me. Yes, it's good, but all alcohol is now, WHO says it is deleterious to health in the form of non-communicable diseases, including cancer. So it's actually worth giving up alcohol altogether. And again, we are saying physical activity and alcohol, and if you can go if we can avoid improve physical activity, reduce alcohol, the lower risk of deaths from cancer, cardiovascular disease, and all other causes is almost guaranteed. Next slide. So why is all this happening? Next slide. Available calories have increased from the year 1970s to 1990, 2000, 2010, and 20. Now human beings, are essentially now the human societies across nations are becoming more prosperous and available calories are increasing. When calories increase, they automatically tend to get deposited within the organism's body. And that's one of the major reasons why genetic abnormalities happen. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. So yeah, again, this is the famous burger and so many food choices are today available. Everybody can order when food. Mostly it turns out to be very processed food and that's not really healthy. Next slide. Yeah, you can see billboards. On one side there is childhood obesity related and the second one is about food again. So here the society is working at cross purposes. Next slide. Food and drink packages, computers and TV, mobile devices, games and toys. I already alluded to it for a brief while. Next. Yeah, so children are constantly distracted from food. They're either looking at a screen or a mobile or something or watching a video, maybe a cartoon. And that's how most of us have now got used to feeding children. And that's certainly not desirable and I'll come back to that a little later in the form of attention economy. Next slide. Yeah, fruits and veggies. Let's move forward once again. Cancer prevention fruits. There are fruits like strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, grapes, oranges, and kiwi. They're supposed to be large number of antioxidants, and probably they can prevent cancer. Cancer prevention foods are also spinach, red peppers, green peppers, cabbage, and tomatoes. Next slide. Try something different. Brown rice, quinoa, beans, lentils, nuts, seeds, whole seed pasta, whole grain cereals. Next slide. Fiber. When the fiber in the diet becomes less, colon cancer goes up. Next slide. Yeah, so we need to have increased fiber containing diet. Next slide again. Yeah, we have so many agents have got high antioxidant things like turmeric, ginger, cilantro, cayenne, rosemary, thyme, parsley, and mint. Next slide. Cancer prevention foods. And in our Indian diet, turmeric is actually guaranteed. Every Indian classical diet contains turmeric and all the spices, and that I think is a traditional thing, and that's actually kept us resulting in low incidence of cancer in our villages. But as you go to the urban areas, we'll find increased because the cooking practices and eating practices have changed in the urban areas. Yeah, ginger is it prevents nausea. We actually give it before chemotherapy also. So it's actually a very useful adjunct to good diet and also cancer preventive. Next slide. Limit consumption of red meats. Next slide. Yeah, limit red meat to less than one half kg per week. That is for the Western society. It's not common in our country, but yes, there are a large number. Our country, 57% of people are actually non-vegetarian. Next slide. Making protein choices well, it's important to choose fish, poultry, or beans as an alternative to beef or pork. So luckily, it's not so common in our country. Our country eats mostly chicken and meat. Next slide. Beef broiled poached meat rather than frying or char boiling. So should not char boil or should not fry the meat too much. Next slide. Yeah, grilling evidence of increased risk is limited, suggesting stomach cancer. So grilled sandwiches, grilled meat, grilled sausages, they are not desirable. Increases the stomach cancer incidence, and our country is one of the capitals of stomach cancer in the world. Next. Yeah, we have heterocyclic aromatic amines and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which actually come out when meat is grilled, and that results in increased incidence of stomach cancer. Next slide. Limit consumption of salty foods and foods processed in and with salt. Probable evidence of increased risk of stomach cancer. Again, avoid processed foods to avoid the scourge of stomach cancer. We already discussed that. Next slide. Limit consumption of salty foods and processed with salt. Next slide. Physical inactivity. I think our country is now heading towards the epidemic. It's already we are in a epidemic of physical inactivity. It's very common for a 11-year-old boy to actually ride a maybe a two-wheeler, mechanized two-wheeler to go 500 yards to get a bag of chips or even a packet of milk rather than go walking. So 500 meters also is quite a taboo in our day-to-day life. So that results in inactivity, and inactivity breeds higher body mass index, and higher body mass index then ultimately breeds all diseases which are non-communicable, including cancer. This is just a joke how a dog can be taken out for a walk. Next slide. Yeah, so what's it going to take? It's just going to take concerted action by society, by communities. It takes a village to do anything. As long as our communities come together, understand these phenomena. And I'm very glad with Grace Foundation that they're putting this live on Facebook. That's going to result in millions of eyeballs, millions of thoughts going into this cancer prevention. So as a nation, we can do it all together. And I'm sure we can reverse this tide in about 15 years or so. So here it's showing colon cancer, even breast cancer and other prostate cancer increasing because of increasing fat content in diet. Next slide. Calcium and cancer risk. It becomes more if you have excessive calcium, and the colon cancer becomes more common. So calcium and aspirin is known to reduce cancer risk. Preserved meats and cancer risk, increased risk of colorectal and stomach, as we already discussed. Vegetable and fruit retard the conversion of nitrates to nitrosamines. Next. There are big eights. What are the big eights? Don't smoke. Next. Don't smoke again. Again, keep your weight in the healthy range. Next. Nearly 1 in 4 Filipino exercise regularly, as we already discussed. Do not allow yourself to be overweight. Exercise regularly. Play contact games. Next. You can see that social media, almost 50% of patients have. I mean, this is even an old slide now. India has got more than 1 billion cell phones, and you can imagine the extent of digital presence that we have. The same digital presence we can change the tide. We can improve communication, improve awareness, improve access, improve age-appropriate care, and improve advocacy, and actually can conquer young people's cancer across the country. Next slide. Drink little or no alcohol. No alcohol is good enough. Next slide. Healthy and varied diet. Next again. Number 6, avoid sugary drinks, limit consumption of energy dense food. We already said that. Next, these are all WHO recommended. Avoid excess sun exposure. That's not fortunately for our country, but the one with where the skin lacks melatonin, like Australia, southern United States, like Florida, high incidence of melanoma, skin cancer. Luckily, we are immune to it as Indians. Next slide. Get regular evidence-based screening. Breast cancer mammography, breast cancer cell breast examination, also colonoscopy, and even prostate may you should or even cervical cancer can be prevented by simple pap smears very regularly in women from the age of 20 to almost 65 to 75. Next slide. Avoid chronic infections. Hepatitis B, hepatitis C can cause liver cancer. Papilloma virus can cause cervical cancer and head and neck cancer. And Helicobacter pylori can cause stomach cancer. Avoid the infections which are viral in nature. They can possibly, if you do that, it will prevent these cancers. Next slide. Yeah, H. pylori infections are, of course, notorious. We all know that. Next. Yeah, so preventive measures include vaccination and prevention of infection and infestation. You know, cervical cancer vaccine can be given for women, girls from the age of 9 up to in women up to the age of 45. So that's a wide range, and I'm sure there's already some impact. Vaccination and hygienic menstrual practices have actually started bringing down incidence of cervical cancer. Next slide. So big eight, don't smoke, of course. Once again, the number one is don't smoke. Number eight also is no, don't smoke. Very important. Needs re-emphasis. Next slide. Keep your weight and healthy. Yeah. Next slide. Exercise regularly. Drink little or no alcohol. Eat healthy food. Other causes. There are some other this thing like asbestos, heavy metals. Those are occupational causes. We can't really help. But yeah, there are almost 60% of all cancers are preventable with these actions which are given in number one and number eight. Next slide. Yeah, so I'll just briefly touch upon the subject, which is my favorite subject, while talking to young people in a community. And I think with the Facebook presence, I'm going across to hundreds of thousands of young people. Big history. We are already in the era of big data. But what is possibly, how can we mitigate the excesses of big data? Well, big history. Big history means making you aware of your origins, from where you came, what are your ancestors did, what was your society like 150 years back, and where are you headed. Reflects and rejuvenates attention and identity, where creates a perspective in young minds, valuing our origin and our common heritage, and revives the global commons. This is what big history does. Good education about your origins. Every young person, whether is interested in medicine or engineering, should undergo some instruction, 3 to 5 years of in the nature of history, nature of his society and his own community's history, and that will mitigate the problems of big data. Big data consumes attention, it consumes energy and time, it commodifies the universal commons and dehumanizes our life. So we have to have a balance between big data and big history if we want to conquer diseases and live a more productive and worthwhile life, which will be culturally rich. Next slide. 21 lessons for the 21st century. It's been written by Noah Harari, who's possibly this century's greatest historian. He lives in Israel. And what does he say? Go on an information diet and of course a food diet. So we need to go on an information diet. What information you are consuming every single day, you should be aware of it. Try to reduce the consumption of information. That will reduce many things. It will reduce the inner oxidation, inner processes, inner metabolic processes in the brain, neurohormones, immunity, etc. uh, can we go back to the previous slide? The rise in yeah, I think we've gone to the conclusion. Can you go back? 21 lessons to the 21st century. Please go back and back. Yeah. So attention economy. What is your attention economy? A young child's attention is constantly on the mobile phone while he's eating. We need to change that. A young girl's attention is all the time on the phones. All of us are all the time on the digital world. So we need to change our attention economy, and your attention span need to be enlarged and preserved, and recognize the suffering of a fellow human. It is real, it is not virtual, and suffering is the only reality in the virtual world, which is now being getting dominated by artificial intelligence. You can never get overrun by artificial intelligence. You will not lose your job because of artificial intelligence if you are aware of a fellow person's suffering, fellow person's realities. I think that's a strong community push is going to help us conquer the mirage of artificial intelligence and cultivate real friends, not digital friends, and have a rhythm, have a regular lifestyle, some time and some time management for every patient, every person. That's going to change our life. Next slide. Yeah, lifestyle issues of cancer survivor. Yeah, survivors of cancer of 1980. How will they look today? They'll look. He or she is likely to be obese, temperamental, has difficulty keeping a relationship or even a job. And survival of 2020, 2000 and onwards, 21st century survivor. How is likely to be? Today is likely to be a leaner, thinner, fitter, meaner, and has a stable job, helpful, eager to help others and to participate. This is because the improved treatment is making the difference. Over the last 20 years, what have we seen? If a cancer survivor has spent 20 years as a cancer survivor, he could have four and a half, on an average, about four and a half other chronic conditions. that he'll suffer from. He could also suffer from hypertension, also suffer from stroke, also suffer from syndrome X, also suffer from hyperlipidemia, as compared to a just a normal healthy adult who goes into from his 20s to 40s. So that is the impact of cancer treatment that will mitigate as time goes. But the fundamental thing is we are already changing to the better, and we must now focus on the soft skills of cancer management. And I think the last 30 minutes of my presentation, what I've tried to say is these are soft skills of cancer management. Next slide. Yeah, in conclusion, I'll say humankind has achieved an unprecedented wellness dividend in the last 50 years. The rise in incidence, prevalence with non-communicable diseases like cancer is higher in the low and middle income countries. A healthy lifestyle could turn the tables again post 2020, 2050, though. So it can again turn the tables in our favor if you work in this direction. A healthy lifestyle, keeping calories control are key to cancer prevention. Effectively supplements curative therapy and adds life to years. Next slide. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much, Grace Foundation, for this opportunity. And I'll be very happy to take questions, because I think we can crystallize the message only by discussing some questions which come to our minds. So may I request Dr. Venkat to take the lead?
An awesome presentation, sir. I think it was very much in detail about everything for what this generation needs to prevent cancers. And that reminds me to tell everybody that Grace Cancer Foundation actually has 5 buses where they travel to the remotest of the places. They reach the unreached and do cancer screening free of cost. And they screen men and women, and they believe in early detection saves lives. And also they have taken up this vaccination program, and they have vaccinated hundreds of girls in schools. Phase 1 and phase 2 has been completed, and they have doing an awesome vaccination for the cervical vaccine cancer vaccination program. And with this, let's take a few questions. And I think I have a few questions here, sir.
Yeah.
Can you throw light on plastics and cancer, like how microplastics are causing cancer?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, but the pathogenesis is still actually work in progress. What possibly it does is it goes into the micro vasculature and gets deposited, and I think basically the alkylators and free oxygen radicals. That's what the plastic releases, and it can cause strokes, it can cause cancer, it can cause hypoxic damage to the various organs, and its exact pathogenesis is still under this basically a work in progress. So yeah, it's a very good question. So plastics is another scourge that is there in our society. It also comes in organic foods like fish. Fish consume plastic, and then we consume the fish. We consume animal meat. So there is multiple ways in which plastic comes in our lives.
Uh, Nowadays, there is a big fad about organic food, and there are several shops coming up about organic food. So, do you think that switching over to the organic food and avoiding the general commercially available food would further reduce the incidence?
Yeah, I think it makes sense to avoid processed foods, and organic food is one step towards it. Second is, I think all of us know, Dr. Venkat, and all across different, we're a very unique subcontinental society. So many states, so many cultures, so many dialects. We all know that, you go to Andhra, you're talking about the cuisine that you had one generation back in your family or my family, or that was ideal. It was balanced food. It had exact perfect balance between carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, and roughage, green, everything. So I think that we are missing now because of the urbanization, of the rapid progress, and food gets ordered every day. So those are unfortunately, and there are many preservatives. They are processing elements, and that is actually causing a problem. So yes, organic food is actually worth the. I mean, we should actually promote it definitely.
There is a question from one of our regular followers for the talk, sir. And they are concerned that above their building there is a mobile tower, and whether the mobile tower will cause any sorts of radiation rays and cause cancers.
Very good question, and you'll be. I think we this was addressed in the United Kingdom about 35 years back, and the result was that actually mobile phones do not increase incidence of cancer. Neither even the high tension wires or the mobile towers, they do not in fact increase incidence of cancer. Having said that, there have been some isolated cases of increased use of mobile phone, possibly because of I mean whatever the occupational hazards, and that resulted in some gliomas in the brain, which is brain tumors. But those are they have been very isolated incidences, and they're not actually, the cohort studies have not proven that mobile phones necessarily increase cancer incidence, or mobile towers and the area under the mobile towers necessarily has an increased incidence. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about stress-related cancers, sir? The younger generation nowadays is working number of hours, and even the time zones are different. So
Yeah.
majority IT segment is under a lot of stress.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little about that?
Yeah, I think ultimately long hours, change in the circadian rhythm. The ITs they tend to work in the unnatural times. It means they red eye shifts. 12 in the night to 8 in the morning, that type of thing. So that changes the circadian rhythm. It changes the hormones, in the sense the hypothalamus pituitary axis, that itself, which is there in the center of our brain, that changes, and that ultimately results in change in the levels of cortisol. That changes the over a period of time, it changes the quality of your T cells, T helper cells, T killer cells, and that ultimately can result in lymphomas, can result in leukemias, which are blood cancers. And also it can change the picture of many cancers if they're going to occur otherwise, because other causes, well, they can become more prevalent, they can become more aggressive. You'll know that young people in IT profession are getting a little more incidence of some kind of blood related cancers, or at least some changes in the blood. It may not result in cancer, but some kind of blood counts change, or the lymphocytes become more, or they become reactive lymphocytes, etc. So there is some evidence, very early evidence. Basically, it's because the circadian rhythm of the body in the hypothalamic pituitary axis changes, and that itself will ultimately result in the changes in the other hormonal glands, which is cortisol, maybe thyroid, etc. And that ultimately can change your, because as you know, lymphoid cells and lymphoma cells have a pangenomic or a genome-wide steroid receptors. And if your steroids change, then the steroid receptors tend to get hyper methylated or hyper mutated, and that can result in a cancer of the lymphoid system, or kind of hematopoietic system. So yeah, there is some early evidence, but it is not yet ready for prime time. But it's important for IT professionals to actually regulate their time zones, and work accordingly wherever possible.
We have another question, sir. So this particular person has long hours of drive from workplace to home and back. So she's worried whether the sun rays, which is exposed to the smoke, which is exposed to causes cancer, and is it also safe to use sunscreens to prevent cancers like malignant melanoma and stuff?
Yeah, that's a very good question again. The long rides in a bus or a car or wherever going to work, that is going to change the picture, because sedentary lifestyle is considered equal to smoking. They say if you're 2.5 to 3 hours in a day, if you're actually sitting, is equal to smoking a few cigarettes. So because that changes the metabolism in the prostate, in the lungs, etc. And so sitting is equivalent to smoking in a sense. So that, but yeah, I think sunscreen is safe in our country, because as I said, our skin contains melanocytes. It is less likely to progress to melanoma. But and if you feel that there is any other changes because of exposure to sun, like skin allergies or erythema, redness on the skin, then it's actually worth using sunscreen. Sunscreens are actually safe. I would not have anything against sunscreens to be used. But yes, the long hours of sitting themselves, or either in the call center or in the IT sector, or sitting in long hours in the cars or in buses or wherever, that's certainly very, very deleterious to your risk of getting prostate cancer or even getting some colon cancers. These are actually getting commoner because of sedentary habits. Even that also I have to add to the sedentary habit. You may be going from home to office for 30 kilometers, but essentially it counts as a sedentary activity. So therefore, that's again not desirable. I mean, yeah, you can't avoid it, but yes, it has a downside to it.
Keeping in view the increased incidence of cancers across all age groups around the world, so what is the time frame for regular screening for men and women and the age groups you recommend, sir?
Yeah, good question again. I think the gynecological cervical screening should start quite early, maybe 21, 22 onwards, and should go on up to the entire reproductive age. That means, and then even beyond, almost 65 years of age. The breast cancer mammography should start. Even Indian Cancer Society recommends above 40. And now it is becoming very common to have young women's breast cancer. So therefore, 40 is a good age to start breast cancer screening by mammography. Screening mammography. Having said that, all young women around 25 or so, they should start doing monthly self breast examination on the last day of the menstrual cycle, usually during a bath, with a hand already, with a soap and all that. So they should do monthly self breast examination, and once in a year they should show to their own family doctor or gynecologist or whoever they have regular this thing, once in a year. That is called a clinical breast examination. So monthly self breast examination, once in a year clinical breast examination, and then mammography possibly every alternate year or whatever. That's really a mandate, and that goes on up to the age of 65 or 70 years. So that, and then as cervical I said, breast I said, well, prostate should start. The prostate specific antigen in our country can start at age of 45 with the executive medical checkups or whatever. And I think these are, and then for lung cancer, well, not nothing much, but possibly CT scan based lung cancer screening might be worthwhile after the age of 45 or so. And I may add one more thing, that a dental screening, or whenever you visit a dentist, you should make it a point to actually consult a oral surgeon or a oromaxillofacial surgeon, because he or she can actually detect very early lesions of oropharyngeal cancers. It means the cancers in your mouth, in your throat, in your tonsils, etc. And they are also very common cancers in our country. In our young people in our country, according to data that the Taikan Foundation has collected, and in some urban areas and also some rural areas, 11% of people between 15 and 30 actually get head and neck cancer. And that's because a lot of times very young children are being exposed to tobacco products. And so by the time they are 17 or 18, they actually develop leukoplakia, and by 20, they can get a squamous carcinoma of the oropharynx or a tongue. So that's really frightening, because such a young child gets head and neck cancer, and that's happening in our country. So therefore, it's important that dentists become more aware of oropharyngeal cancer screening.
Awesome talk, sir. I'm sure most of our viewers and all younger generation would take lead and follow your advice for having a healthy food, healthy lifestyle, and also prevent cancers, stop smoking, and stop alcohol. The take-home message in today's awareness session was awesome. And I think we do not have any more questions coming in from the viewers. So I encourage everybody to please join the Grace Cancer Foundation run on 12th of October 2025 in Gachibowli Stadium. It's a 2K, 5K, and 10K run. So 2K is a fun run, walk and a run. Everybody can come, join hands and join. And remember that early detection saves life. And join with Grace Cancer Foundation, change your lifestyle, and you will see how different you can, spread the news, and you yourself can become different in changing your lifestyle and preventing cancers and adopting to healthy methods. So with this, I think we can conclude the session.